to get to this morning, including some new details about the shocking suicide of football star Junior Seau. The LA Times saying that his family has now decided to donate his brain. They're trying to determine if he had chronic traumatic encephalopathy. This morning, we have an exclusive look at one of the last interviews that he ever gave. He made one of his last public appearances at a charity golf tournament where he was signing autographs and talking with his fans. And he spoke in an interview about how he felt privileged to be a role model. Listen.
You know, it's fun to be in the position that we're in, you know, and for kids that look up to us and, you know, for us to give so much back.
That was on Monday. Just 36 hours later, Seau would be dead. The San Diego County Medical Office last night released the preliminary autopsy findings, and they say that the 43-year-old died in his home of a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the chest. The manner of death has been classified as suicide, but many of his friends this morning are asking why. Joining us in a CNN exclusive is Dave Biber. He's a friend of Seau's who was involved with that charity, and also Tim Abel. He's the man who did what we believe is the last interview with Junior Seau. Nice to see both of you, and my condolences to both of you because I know you were very friendly with him. Tim, I'm going to start with you, if I may. Tell me a little bit about the circumstances around the interview. Clearly, it's a charity event, but talk to me a little bit about the day and that particular interview.
David asked me to do some interviews at the golf event. It was the Tim Brown and Kathy Ireland 911 for Kids event, and we were interviewing some of the celebrities that were there, a lot of the football stars, and Junior Seau was on one of his final holes, and he stopped to eat some of Dave's pig. He made it a full pig, and Junior loved that, so he was over there smoking a cigar, having some pig, and I asked him for an interview, and he came over, and he had a lot of kids around him. He was signing autographs, signing footballs, and just the happiest guy in the world. And we talked a bit before he went on camera and just said how much he loved kids and being a role model. And then we started doing the interview. It was about a minute long, I believe. And we talked a bit about what it was like for him to be a role model for kids. And he talked about the Junior Seau Foundation and how much it meant to him to be a role model to all these kids.
Let me play a little clip of that interview, because of course now, and as you're right, that interview is very brief, but I think people go back and look at that very last interview. 36 hours later, he would take his own life, to sort of look for clues. So let's play a little bit and talk on the other side.
Whatever you give yourself to, you know, there are a lot of kids out there that need help, and we're always behind Dave when it comes down to charity.
Besides interviewing, you spent the day around him. What was he like? How would you describe his demeanor? Did he seem unhappy in any way?
Well, when I found out that he had died, and I was totally shocked. I told my friends that he was, you know, he was a bigger than life on the gridiron, and talking to him on the field, he's an imposing guy. He's a big guy, but he was so jovial and happy, and the kids loved him, and everybody was getting pictures with him. And I have to say that he was probably the most, dynamic individual out there that I saw and that I talked to that entire day. And he was over there with David talking a bit about, David's done about 17 different events with him, and they had a much more personal relationship than I did. But I just thought the guy showed no indication that he would do what he did 36 hours later.
How about for you, David? I mean, did you see any clues to depression or unhappiness or any kind of problems?
We were at the 12th hole, and the only complaint that I heard that day was no birdies. He seemed to be in a very good mood. He was lighthearted. Again, as Tim said, signing autographs surrounded by people. It was a flurry of activity. As always followed Junior. He's bigger than life, even in real life. Bigger than life on camera, bigger than life on the field, and bigger than life in person, which you probably got from the fact there was one guy in the golf cart.
Let me ask you, that's true. Let me ask you a question about, for both of you. The family, as you know, has now said that they will allow his brain to be studied so they can analyze to see if, in fact, he had that CTE. Do you think that that's a possibility? Is it something that Dave talked about or that you would have, experience with?
Not something that I'm that familiar with. However, Tim is veteran and very familiar with head injuries, so I would prefer to have him speak to that. I'm a barbecue guy.
Well, I guess For me, you know, the quickness and the surprise of him killing himself is not too far off from a lot of the young kids that I've worked with coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan that have traumatic brain injuries and PTSD and depression and sleeplessness. And it's very similar to that. We have guys who I've worked with and have talked with, and you know, a month later, 2 days later, you find out that he's suicidal or they've killed themselves. And
Wow,
working
so
with
that's
the
where you
group that I
see the
do, Gallant Few,
similarities.
it's just amazing. It's amazing the
Tim Abel
similarities.
and David Biber, thank you, gentlemen, both of you, for talking with us about it. Those similarities really chilling. I appreciate your time.